And then Boston, been to Boston. Wow, the history of Boston. Oh my. I don't know of a city that has more history than Boston. And what an incredible place. And of course, the historic marathon there. But, and then one time my wife and I were over on the East Coast, and we did something that only Midwesterners would do. We just drove right into New York City. I mean, just, you know, and we were in traffic, and it was incredible. And we went down the street, walking down the way towards we were making our way to the World Trade Center. And as we were making our way to the World Trade Center towers, we walked by. All of a sudden, I saw it. Hey, look at there, the Downtown Athletic Club. You know, I said, oh my, look at here, hon. And so I had her take my picture doing the Heisman pose, you know. And we went up on top of the World Trade Center on the South Tower and walked out on the roof. And you could do that and walk out on the roof, and you looked down on all of Manhattan. If you looked south, you looked down on the Empire State Building. If you looked east, you saw the Statue of Liberty in the harbor. If you looked west, you saw the Brooklyn Bridge. And it was magnificent, just awesome, the city of New York. Let me tell you about one more. When we were speaking and doing a missions conference in Manila, we were sitting here with a travel agent planning the trip, and you know how they do, they're typing away in the computer, and the guy started complaining. He said, oh my, on the way back, I've got you stuck 24 hours in Seoul, Korea. And he said, let me see if I can do better than that. And I sit there for a second, and I said, no, wait a minute. I like that. Seoul, Korea, he said, you come in on Saturday night and you leave on Sunday night. I said, that's perfect. Just leave it just like that. I want to see Seoul, Korea. I want to spend Sunday in Seoul. And so while we were in the Philippines, I asked missionaries, okay, how do I navigate Seoul, Korea? I'm coming into a city, I don't know the language, you know, and how do I get around? I want to go to Dr. Cho's church, the largest church in the world, and I'm going to be there on Sunday. I come in on Saturday night. How do I get a motel? How do I get transportation? How do I get to his church? And they told me everything to do. And we took the underground train to the church, went to the largest church in the world, put on earphones, picked our language, English, and listened to him preach. And it was incredible. And then that afternoon, we walked down by the river. It was a beautiful, sunny afternoon. And I saw some people walking by with corn dogs. I said, ooh, I want to get a corn dog. I'm hungry. And so Gail and I walked over to this little stand there on the river. And I couldn't talk, but I pointed to the corn dog sign, you know, a picture, and I said, one of those, and I gave him my American money, trusted him to give me the right change back, and got 2 corn dogs, and walked away eating my corn dogs, which weren't corn dogs, I found out. They were not hot dogs on a stick with corn material around. No, they were fish on a stick. Oh, my lands, bad stuff. Yucky. My wife wouldn't eat it. I said I paid for it. I'm eating it, and I ate it. But it was awful, you know. Seoul, Korea, a magnificent place. And you could feel the respect of the people for Americans. We took a boat ride on the river that afternoon, and people were so kind. They couldn't talk to you, but one couple over the way had their little boy with them, and the little boy came over and gave us some individually wrapped candies. And you could sense they were saying thank you. And Seoul, Korea owes America a lot, and they sense it, and it was incredible. Missionaries said, you will be in the most Christian nation in the world in South Korea. And they said, you notice, watch for the crosses. I looked out my window of my motel Saturday night, and in the darkness of the city, as I looked out over this city of 20-some million people, all over the city I saw white crosses coming up over every church has, like we have, a cross up on top, only theirs is lit up in white. And they are all over that city. And on Sunday morning when we were riding the train to church, people had their Bibles on the train. The train was filled with people going to church. People were going over their memory verses. And I mean, incredible, amazing nation. You got me off track. Let's get back. This city is not a metaphor. The city of heaven is not a metaphor. The New Jerusalem is the capital city of heaven. It is an actual physical city. It is our destination of our pilgrimage. We are pilgrims, the Bible says. We are on a journey. Where are we going? We are going to the New Jerusalem. This is where we're going that I'm talking about this morning. We ought to be excited about it. We ought to be on our tiptoes with anticipation and say, wow, where are we going? This is it, the New Jerusalem. Hebrews 11:10 speaks of Abraham, for he was looking for a city which has foundations, whose architect and builder is God. He was looking for this city. He was anticipating this city. You and I should be too. The New Jerusalem is not synonymous with heaven. It is a city in heaven. There are many cities in heaven besides this one, by the way. There will be nations on the earth, and the kings will bring their glory into this city from the nations and so forth, if you read on in this chapter 21 and 22. But there will be many cities, but this is the capital city of heaven. It is the city of heaven. This is the city Jesus is referring to in John 14 when he says, I go and prepare a place for you. After the millennium, it will rest on the earth. It will be the focal point of heaven. Well, let's look at three things. First of all, the dimensions of this city. We see it in Revelation 21. Are you still open there? Verses 15 and 16. The one who spoke with me had a measuring rod to measure the city and its gates and its wall. The city is laid out as a square, and its length is as great as the width. And it is measured, and he measured the city with the rod. 1,500 miles, its length and its width and its height are equal. 1,500 miles one way, length. 1,500 miles the other way, its width. And here's another one that you and I can't comprehend. 1,500 miles up. It is a cube. And I've never known a city like this. But it is a cube. And the ground level will be nearly 2 million square miles in this city. The length, the width, tells us that the ground level will be nearly 2 million square miles, 20 times larger than New Zealand, 40 times larger than England, nations larger than nations. No city even comes close to this. I mean, can you imagine if you drove from here to Denver, you wouldn't even be a third of the way across this city. I mean, it's 1,500 miles, you know, and everything's relative, isn't it? My wife's from a little town in Oklahoma, Guymon. And you could walk across the town, you know. And I never forget one time, and her parents would come here. And when they came to Lincoln, it was big city. You know, I mean, this was big city to them. And I never forget one time, her dad and I were working on the car, and we needed a part. And I said, well, there's a parts store just down the road here. And so we jumped in the car, and we're driving. You know, it took us about 10 minutes to drive there. And about halfway there, he said, I thought you said it wasn't very far. I said, Dad, it isn't. It's only 10 minutes away. You know, but to him, that was huge, you know. And so everything's relative. This city, can you imagine it? I mean, 1,500 miles by 1,500 miles, the length and the width, and then 1,500 miles up. No, I cannot imagine that. This city, if you were to set it in America, it would run from Canada to Mexico. It would run from the Appalachian Mountains west, past Colorado, almost to California. I mean, that's the length, the breadth, and the height of this city. This city is a cube. It could have 600,000 stories. Billions of people could occupy this city with many square miles per person.